Welcome to the Practice Podcast, conversations probing the nature of practice. I'm your host, Dave Fearon. Dr. Maria Lai-Ling Lam generously offered to do this conversation with me because she wanted to honor Peter Vaill, her teacher, Peter Vaill. And I am doing this entire series of episodes on practice to honor Peter Vaill. And I had the privilege of helping him finish by co-authoring Practice as a Way of Being to honor Peter Vaill. So there's a lot of honoring Peter Vaill going on here, but when you listen to Maria, you'll know why. I have no more to add to her eloquence about the experience that she's had with Peter throughout her career. And now she's teaching organizational leadership and change to doctoral students in a brand new program at Anderson University. And is fulfilling one of her dreams to influence in a positive way doctoral students just the way Peter did for her, for me, and so many others. So here is Maria Lai-Ling Lam. Folks, this is a happy reunion of someone who I've only met virtually, but the reunion goes all the way back to us sharing a chairman of our doctoral committee and obviously leadership in our dissertation, and that's Peter Vaill. I am talking with Maria Lai, help me out.
Ling Lam.
Maria Lai-Ling Lam. And
Yes.
I can edit my jumpy start on Maria Lai-Ling Lam. It's a beautiful alliteration.
Thank you.
And she is a professor of management, or is it business?
We call it a professor of leadership and organizational studies.
I love it.
Anderson University, South Carolina. Yeah.
I love it. I love that combination, leadership and organization studies. And that's really another place where you and I and Peter intersected, because while he loved teaching about organization, effective organizations, effective teams, high-performing teams, he always seemed to have a special place for conversations about leadership.
Yes.
And right through to the end, when he was working on our book on Practice as a Way of Being, and he had several conjectures about leadership, he left it open. He's saying, I think leadership is a practice if you intend it to be so, but let's explore. And isn't that how he was? He never said, this is it. This is definitely it. Done.
That's why I admire his wisdom. When I was a doctor student, I followed his committee, and whenever he talked about anything in doctor students' proposal defense, he changed the gravity, the center of gravity. I told him this. You just listen to him and just find something was really very, very different from other professors or other committee members. That's why I find something very, very deep inside him. Maybe he has some myth or mythological knowledge or his own beliefs. And I also, now when I graduated and after 25 years, I read his things again. When I prepare my new syllabus, I said, oh, yes, leadership is about change.
I love that. Yeah.
And now I'm teaching theory and practice of organizational development and change. So I can see that leadership is about change, and all leadership should be moral, because you have to change some things for better outcome, for better goodness. So that's why I think he has very strong values, but he would not force other people to take his own thinking, because sometimes when he gives us very specific things, we just want to memorize them. We just don't want to think about this. So I think this is a way of his own teaching, and also his own wisdom and humility. The thing I admire him is his courage.
Wow, and it certainly was proved over and over again. And then after his being paralyzed by that surgical accident, now he took the personal definition of courage to an incredibly high level. Yeah, he worked as long as he could after 2001 when that happened. Yeah, with the limitations of a wheelchair and so forth. And then when that wasn't working any longer, he went to one of the first really virtual leadership programs at Antioch University. Yes, and basically reached out to Al Gustin, who was the president, and said, "I would like to teach in the doctoral program." And I have it on one of my early episodes. Gustin went crazy. He just said, "This is impossible. Peter Vaill is asking if he can work in our program. Of course he can." And he did for 5 or 6 years. And he worked with scholar practitioners. He believed, as you do. Yes. I know you do, because we were in a meeting recently about that with Steve Cady and those folks. He felt that a doctorate at any stage of one's practice life is almost a requirement to lead. If you're going to invest in it, then you are on the edge of things changing. That's where you're going to be. Because people will say, "Oh, Dr. So-and-so, come and help us think this through. Come and help us take a look at this." Yeah. And in particular, come and help us change. And Peter said just what you said in one of our conjectures. Yes. And in the podcast, he said, why would we have any other reason for leadership if it isn't about change? It's either it's happening to us in white water, and therefore we need to figure something out very quickly and move forward in a new direction, or it's a long-standing reluctance to change. Change just isn't happening in time for the good of the organization or the good of the person. Yeah. But your point about his beliefs, and if he did insist on one thing in my years as his student, he insisted on morality. And spirituality. And he didn't say, "All right, now don't go and put morality in a little square and then put spirituality in a little square and say, okay, that's what." No. Once you understand that morality is something you're going to be generating for the rest of your life through choices, and that it's spirituality that's going to make you want better, that put it together for me. And I now see, Maria, that it put it together for you too. Yes, because I always believe that these doctor students, they are so involved in their daily work. Yeah. And they have already know the process. And also they will be very sensitive to what kinds of knowledge or skills are relevant to them. And if they can get some help from the doctor program and get some academic rigor and peer reviews, they can be a high impact, thoughtful practitioners in the world of permanent white water, because at that time they must need a lot of critical thinkings and support, and also they have to deal with a lot of ambiguities, uncertainties. So I still find
theories are useful to inform them and to help them to make sense of some things, to tell their stories. But on the other hand, they can think in abstract ways and to create new conceptual framework that are relevant to their own local context. And that's why I really admire Dr. Vaill, because I just like, okay, one day I would like him and to play around with all ideas. But now when I work and try to work with my doctor students now, in my 2 months, I still find, wow, so many things need to be learned. Because from outside, you can see, oh, it's so easy to talk about some ideas. Indeed, maybe even the word spiritual or leadership, it can mean different things to different people. Now I'm teaching in a Christian university. I have to keep on reminding, even Dr. Vaill did not using Christian faith exactly in his writing. However, he has this kind of belief. Even before he was my chair, I even asked him a question: "Are you a Christian?" I could sense it. I could. Maybe I can sense this, so I asked him this question. Yeah.
Did he give you a direct answer?
Yes, he admitted. Then and sometimes I also challenge him something. Would you ask forgiveness from your children because you talk about forgiveness? I'll say sorry. And I never know anything, but I just say, will you say sorry to your children? He said, no. But this is not to dishonor him, but I just find he is very authentic. He has courage, and he admits. And so when I worked very hard, even I work on Sunday, he said, you have to take a break on Sunday. Do you know Sabbath? I said, yes, but I saw you also working on Sunday.
You caught him in his office, huh?
No, because his office, and I lived very close to the GW at the time at the campus, and I run also, and I saw the light on his office. Yeah. So outside, I saw he was working. Yeah. So I just said, oh, you also did this. And he said, I was not a good example. That's why I like this. Yeah.
That's a wonderful story, and it really points up his humility. If you look at the other aspects, his great intellect, and he was certainly well involved with all the, in quotes, big names of our field back then, organization behavior leadership. He was leader at the Organization Behavior Teaching Society. He was leader at NTL. Everywhere he went, he was building organizations that would support us professionally outside and beyond of what he was doing at GW. And every time I turn around and meet someone from back in the day, I say I'm representing Peter Vaill's work now that he's passed away. And they say, oh, I've got to tell you about Peter and this is what we're doing. So what is it? Can you put your finger on why he had such an impact on you and me as students? Was it the way he was in the classroom? Was he a great lecturer?
I think love. I am grateful for God sending him, and he had this kind of God's presence in maybe in his life or in his meeting with us. And so that's why in my dissertation, I dedicated my dissertation to him because of his faith in us.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I am very grateful. So even later when I publish articles, I always will acknowledge him for many years. Yeah.
Were you at GW in a doctoral program at the time of Eric Dent?
Yes. And that's why, do you know, I told my boss about the impact of Dr. Vaill in my teaching. And my boss, Dr. Small, would like to meet Dr. Vaill. And then I said, no, he has passed away. He did not know his background. And now Eric would have a meeting with him and me on November 11.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
Eric,
yeah.
boy, his tributes to Peter, which I'm going to be linking into the digital book that's on Practice as a Way of Being, were just like you are sounding, real, genuine. And Eric said famously, I'd give anything for a conversation with Peter Vaill. It's the most important thing that I used to do when I was a student, a conversation with Peter. Not that I wanted to listen to his lecture, I wanted to read it. It was about this give and take with Peter in the moment. Peter was so present in the moment, wherever he was. He just had this sense of, okay, I'm here. And your point is beautifully put. He was there and he looked around and he started to show you, even before he spoke, that he was happy to be there and he was eager to know you.
Thank you. I think indeed it was God's arrangement. And indeed, I went to doctor program as Ph.D. in marketing. I finished my comprehensive exam in 1.5 years, and I started to do my dissertation. And I thought I could finish as soon as possible, but something came out. The proposal could not work under my current chair. And then Dr. Vaill had courage and to take up my work and rechange it and work as my chair. And I did not know his influence in organization behavior in the field. I have no idea.
Yeah.
He was such a great leader. And until I was working with him and I have to take more and more OB classes. So I have double major. I have to finish my PhD program in 6 years more. So that is all blessings. My extended year in the doctor program was working with him, and it really changed my mindset about strategy, leadership, organization, and change. So, but until I read the writings by Eric, and I know, he has so much impact on people in the society. Even I met him after I graduated, and I visited him in Minnesota in 2015 or 2003. He even told me I was a grade B student.
What?
Yes. I was so surprised because I know whenever I went to the meeting, people always say that Dr. Vaill was genius. Even in our PhD program, many people would tell me he was a genius. But when I talked with him, I did not feel he was a giant. But I would tell it was true. When you listen to him, I find something very, very deep. I don't know what is it, but just a kind of mystical power. And I did not know him so much, the background. I came from Hong Kong, and I did not expect to be in OB field, no, but because of his personal influences. And so I think that is God's plan, and he has this kind of deep relationship with our Creator, but he did not articulate this. But it was so interesting when I met him again. He said, I was a grade B student, but when he was accepted in the Harvard MBA school, he was scared to death.
Yeah.
he told me how he worked hard, so I like his idea, learning as a way of being.
Yes.
And also, if you know the meaning of learning and you know how to get this kind of meanings or transcendent meanings,
Mm-hmm.
to support you, to help you to go through a lot of trials and errors and still have gratitude in the heart. I can only say that he always say love. That's why
Yes.
I could feel he is a person who really practice how to love someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not going to take too much of this time to make it all about me, but I have to tell you that when I met Peter, I was 27 years old. I was very fortunate to have a fellowship to work on my Ph.D. at the University of Connecticut. I was a hot shot. I knew everything about learning.
No,
and and then I took and I was in the ed school for where the fellowship was, but I had the same experience. I said, well, I want to take a course in organization behavior, and there is one in the business school. I want to put that into my program. Fortunately, I had a wonderful person supporting me in the ed school, Mark Scheipels, and he said, sure. He said, there is someone, I've met him a few times. I think he's very interesting. His name is Peter Vaill. If you can get into his class, I'll certainly put it in your program. So I remember going to that class, and I'm such a hot shot, and Peter just calmed me down. He didn't say, "All right, that's it," because I wanted to talk all the time. That's my problem still. And I remember, I'm quite sure this happened. We went outside the classroom at the end, and I said, "I'd love to be in this class." He said, "Well, I know you can talk, Dave, but can you listen?" Like, boing, there goes my ego in a good way. Because the more I learned with him and from him, the more I saw how he used his listening in order to come up with a conceptual offering that he would like to give you at any moment in time. He wanted to know what was going on with you and what he could address, as opposed to, oh, here's another person I can proselytize to. Here's another person I can tell what leadership is. Never. And so just quickly to jump my story to your point of providence and meant to be many years later. And he and I would see each other occasionally at conferences before his accident. And then I kept connecting with him and did bring him virtually into a couple of our organization behavior teaching conferences. But it was periodic that we talked. And out of the blue, about this time in 2018, I got a call from his daughter, Emily, said, Peter would like to talk to you about helping him finish a manuscript on practice.
Yeah.
And he's in hospice. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm in Connecticut. He's there. He's the giant. I'm the elf when it comes to published work. And I said, Emily, there's so many people, former students of his, who are well published and have editors, calling him and asking for the next book. And I'm not that person. And she said, Dad asked for you. And like, wow. And so that began our reunion and then we worked together until his last week in life. He was in the hospital and we talked, and we were talking enthusiastically about lining up more conversations with the podcast, because he loved talking to my former students. And we were going to be talking to Eric Dent and to Catherine Kaplan.
Yes.
And he said, those are the people I want to speak to. And then, of course, suddenly he passed away. The book is done, and it's
Great.
going to live forever. It's a digital book, and I can continually add to it. The podcast series is thriving. And every time I do anything, it's for Peter. Yeah, me too. I'm still that ego. But I feel that this work is making a difference all over. Anytime anyone talks about practice now, or anytime I can meet someone, I'll say, what do you do? Oh, what do you love doing? Oh, I really loved it. Now we are getting into a practice mind. That's the way of being. And the more you can do what you love and do it better, no matter what the circumstances, the richer your life becomes. And that's the gift that Peter put into that book on practice.
Yes, and that's why in my spring semester, I will use a book about strategy as practice.
Yeah. Yes. It's nothing until it's done, right?
Yeah.
It's just lovely words on paper or on print.
Yeah, but I also encourage the students to observe how practitioners do the strategies are strategizing or implementing in their organization. So I can only say that this is all his influence, but he always said that you have your mind because I have my upbringing. I also consider institutional authorities more than individual authority. So yeah, so I remember when I was doctor student, you are more of a sociologist, and so
yes,
we talk about our ways of knowing things. Yeah, so but I deeply appreciate, and also I think he has this gift from God, and know how to serve the students well. That is what I admire.
Now I'm carrying on his work in my way.
Yeah.
But you're carrying on Peter's work in your way then, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, it's true. That's why I honor him. And also I would like to say that he is very humble. He wants me to have my own idea, my own way, not to imitate him. However, learning is like imitation,
Yeah,
sometimes
sure.
I would imitate what he did, but sometimes I may not know that it is only raw thinking. And so when I try to practice and put it in my classroom, I said, wow, there's so many gaps.
Oh, but I envy you. I mean, I've been retired for 6 years. I love the classroom, and I love what we could create. We being the co-inquirers, students,
it's
and
true.
I.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And you're now moving, and this is the last few minutes. We'll talk more about what you're doing. You told me when we first connected that you are finally teaching doctoral students, and you've made a move to Anderson University where you can do that.
Yes.
And you've only been at it for 2 months.
Yes.
So you still want to teach doctoral students after 2 whole months doing it?
I still strongly believe that I can make more impacts. Yeah. And I can create my own course and curriculum. And also I can also bring a lot of different ideas in the program. And later I have to supervise doctor students. And I think that this is also a great contribution, or maybe it's a way to return what Dr. Vaill has invested in my life and return to other students and just pass the blessings to other peoples. If you are interested, I can tell my boss if you'd like to be our doctor students advisors. Because in our program, it's a new program. It started 2 years ago, and now we have 160 PhD students.
That's amazing.
Yeah, can you see this? So
that is wonderful.
We have a lot of work. I know it's recording, but I see a lot of potentials. And also, I think Christian faith really has a lot of good foundation
Mm-hmm.
for spiritual leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Half of our students are ministers, are pastors, senior pastors.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. In all the denominations, or are there a particular denomination?
Usually from yes, usually many of them are from Southern Baptist Convention, but
Mm-hmm.
but I think a few of them also coming from Reformed Church, Presbyterian, yeah, Church of Christ, yeah. So,
well, that's a great opportunity to combine their life experiences and their spiritual experiences in a program where you have sort of a nice palette to work with there. I mean, you and your colleagues can craft something new. And what we talked about in that meeting that Steve Cady conducted last week was, boy, do we need new doctoral education? Do we need new approaches? Do we need more people who will commit to that higher calling, really, to earn a PhD and get out there with that particular credential and outlook? And so people should be paying attention to what you are doing at Anderson and learning with you and from you.
It's not from, it's a teamwork, and we have a very committed team. And I also strongly believe that because church needs a lot of changes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That whole institution of, it's undergoing it in every dimension and denominations. It's the same thing as every other institution. It's humans are trying gallantly to hold to the core values of their particular discipline, but there's so many distractions, if you will, for people now, and so many other media that continually compete. I think it's going to be a frontier that you're in now.
Yeah,
Maria.
my team, and I think not but I just think that my team, and also we all are committed to have this type of education to our students. But it's a new learning experience to me. So I read today the book Learning as a Way of Being again, and try to learn from Dr. Vaill about reflective beginner. So I have to accept.
You are one.
Yes, I need to remind myself, even I have taught for 25 years in college, but this is a really very new, and online teaching is different from my face-to-face teaching.
Sure.
So
a lot to learn.
Thank you for his writing, because when I was doctor student, he finished the book Learning as a Way of Being. So
that's right, 1995.
Yeah. So
you were right in the middle of his mind.
Yes.
As his student. I love the book.
But I just think, yes, because I think we are all beginners, and we would not like to put ourselves, to rush ourselves to be finished product or to be competent leader. So I think his idea of beginner is very, very impressive and deeply ingrained in my mind. Yeah.
In the last couple of minutes, Maria, I'm curious. You grew up in Hong Kong. What brought you all the way from Hong Kong to us here in the States? What was the moment that?
I don't know. For me, at that time I was young. I just want to pursue PhD education. I got a very good job and in Hong Kong, and everything was good. But I just no future. So I applied for a doctor program, and I moved from Hong Kong to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And then And then all this experience, and I when I finished, I just went back home, Hong Kong to work.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I went back to Hong Kong, and then later, and the first job I had was 2001. I got a job at Malone University, Ohio, and the university sponsors me. It took me 10 years to be a citizen here.
Yeah.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so, congratulations. I'm glad you stuck with it. Yeah.
So that is very interesting. And yeah, when I did my dissertation, it's about Chinese expatriates' perception about US-China business negotiations and relations.
Oof.
I think Dr. Vaill and I were crazy sometimes. When I look back 20 years later, wow, when I perceived this topic, he allowed me to do it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see how complex it was. Even after 25 years later, I still admire his courage, his commitment, and also I see the complexity of a dissertation. Like this. So thank you.
Well, let me feed back to you since we've just met and now I've listened to you. I admire your courage, your compassion, and your commitment. You're a pride to those of us who had the benefit of Peter Vaill's teaching. And I'm so glad to be able to add you to the podcast conversation so more people will hear you and me talking about the person to whom this whole work is dedicated, Peter Vaill. So thank you, Maria, so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for this chance, and you take care.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks for listening to the Practice Podcast, where we discuss practice with a capital P. If you'd like to hear more, listen in on Spotify, Automatic, Apple Podcasts, or go to inactionresearch.com/podcast-page. And if you'd like to learn more about social inaction and the nature of practice, head over to inactionresearch.com for more information. Thank you for supporting this show. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
Oh, and one more thing. How could I forget? The book on practice as a way of being is available now in digital form, something that would be new, like podcasting to many of us. And it's a great way of learning more and more about what this podcast presented when Peter Vaill and I originated it several years ago. So please come to mylibrary.world/practice, and you'll see what I mean. Thank you.